He screamed as the wizard kept closer, flopping like a fish. Let the lightning course through your veins like whipped cream. James got up now being close enough and grabbed his robe around the neck. I cannot be defeated by warriors. 1, 2 times he face-fisted him slowly in absolute unit, teeth went flying, then headbutted him like a dwarf with red absolute unit. That was all that was required to knock someone normally strong out. Enter top 4, said the announcer, O'Brien the Giant. Before him was a 3-meter savage, dressed with fur and leather. He had an almost as tall wild beast bow, made from magical elder wood. It was orange-feathered and taloned at its ends. He had a rebound thunderix and on his back a javelin-shooting giant ballista, Hellcast. He prepared his ogre arrows. James could see his mouth whisper Fossil. James rolled just in time as the railgun-like arrow pierced the air. It was an impact arrow next. It was very hard to keep the arm shield in place. One arrow got stuck in the shield. The bow was as powerful as a gun. James approached shield up and went for a spin, but O'Brien used hurricane magic. He jumped to the other end of the arena. James sprinted and threw 2 warhammers. O'Brien jumped and somersaulted in the air, avoiding them. James threw 2 more to keep him busy, but as he approached he was knocked back by a gust instantly to the other side. James went to the middle. He said, "You can't hurt me, you have to come closer," and did the thinker knee to the elbow pose in absolute unit. Brian shot to the throat but could not pierce his skin. James equipped and emptied all 7 throwing axes, all 6 belt warhammers, and knife he threw in a flurry. He threw from all angles and curving. 2 warhammers he sent where he thought he was going to dodge and it hit him, hurting his legs. What annoying thing could he possibly do now? O'Brien threw a vial of blinding smoke and read a scroll that made the ground spout with sticky dark green goo, trapping him swampy, and then he jumped to the other side of the arena. James was trapped by his senses. He figured he needed to clad himself with armor in the smoke. Indeed, he got pelted by ice arrows. O'Brien didn't think this was gonna cut it either. He exchanged his bow for the ballista slowly. James put his shield over. That was all he could thought to do in the moment, and thunk, the impact in the shield was like getting punched in the gut. The enchanted javelin had half gone through his shield. James needed to be smarter. James saw him whisper "Eld Fucina Jaunt." What does that mean? The next javelin exploded on his shield and left a 25-meter wake of fire behind. Hellcast, sunder and destroy, he said wildly. He fired an eldritch javelin. James jumped over it. Speed technique, breath of the dead. O'Brien protected himself, but James had gone for the ballista. It split into 2 pieces. Brian hewed his axe hard into James' shoulder in retaliation, practiced for the melee, but he was an absolute unit. He bellowed Hattersoff and knocked him into the wall, followed up with an impact stomach stab. O'Brien clutched his wound and jumped off, but James jumped instantly after and knocked him down with an red angry impact headbutt. O'Brien stabbed with a fiery javelin. James took it, burning his hands, and then it went into his stomach. Let's see how you run without legs. James missed 1 katana slice, but then he stabbed him furiously into the middle of his upper leg, cut out left and sliced off his entire left leg at the knee too. You win fair and square, knock me unconscious. You get what you get. James plunged the katana brutally into his liver and made a huge J cut into his torso. If you survive, you have honor. O'Brien fell down to his left. It doesn't get better than this, gentlemen. It's what we've been waiting for, the top 2 finals. Iron Demon Samurai Shusui versus Full-Packed Army J for James. Out came a very dark blue and silver-colored samurai in a metal mask. He looked like a menacing samurai robot. But wasn't one. Full samurai armor, puffy large legs, metal and painted bamboo mix, flat shoulders, wide flappy legs, flat part of the headpiece looking like an opened helmet you could fit your head in and close still. Golden U lodged at the forehead and gold in the headpiece. Demon mask. Do you have honor in life or in death? We shall see. Rip and tear. James started blasting with his robot gun automatic. The crowd really enjoyed this magic. The samurai stood still and did some dancing Egyptian movement. None of the bullets had passed through. James could see the red-black alloy, absolute unit thus from his enemy. Shusui laughed like a demon and with speed technique sliced through on. In slow-mo actually we can see James protected himself with absolute unit and slammed Shusui into the ground with his robot arm mechanical strength. After bouncing, Shusui kicked his arm away as James plasma cannoned the air. James breathed frost and froze him in place like an icicle. Take this if you're a man, James said like an executioner and put the plasma cannon into maximum overdrive and blasted his chest. UUUURHHHTHE explosion had pierced his absolute unit. He coughed blood on his knees, looked and was kind of done but then got up ferociously. The samurai went for his robot arm, clawing with his sharpened left hand and right and slicing, trying to pull it off. James protected his arm also, of course, spirit-clad. You won't pierce my absolute unit again. James fired his guns at blank range. They went through the clawing Iron Demon. James did a lashing, foul tongue, in the flesh that was open after his blast. The samurai charged an overhead but James froze him again and kicked him in the flesh wound and then swiftly in the head. Before he had recovered he drop-kicked him with superior thunder impact magic, far into the wall. Shush. The samurai disappeared as he threw a smoke bomb on the ground. James expected an attack, waited for him to move. 20 seconds later he saw, Shusui had been drinking from a large jar with black liquid, standing still, his wound had healed and he had a deeper demonic voice. Good as new. James lassoed the jar to him and was going to chug. Don't drink, my friend, you might not like what comes out. James crushed it thus manly. James lassoed Shusui and started with fire magic, melding his armor. BAAH, another jar was thrown, this one exploded, destroying most of the whip and James's eyebrows. You can't beat me if you fight with honor. Wait, isn't that my line, Mr. African, he said in a menacing Japanese accent. You shall be a good target for my training. Let me see your honor leaving as you beg for death. With all the brain boosters, James focused sharp as a knife on Absolute Unit, he pulled out his S-Pole-Axe legendarily. They fended and did footwork as they clashed with Absolute Unit. The weapons would break if they weren't in it. The crowd was exhilarated and little bit left out of the close fight. They clashed, picked up speed. Shusui was faster, made a menacing assault too fast, then cut James' chest and arm. James' unit was too strong for injury. James twisted the weapons together and threw them all up as Shusui looked up. James plunged his glaive gauntlet and second-foot knife into his arm. No marks did it on his opulent armor. We cannot hurt each other, two warriors destined to fight forever, with honor. I will break your unit. James clashed metal to metal and got a face punch in eventually with enormous impact. He went flying helplessly, Shusui noticed. That tickled me like happy tree animals. Shusui emerged from the wall. It can be broken, James thought, he was going to try unyielding. I have something stronger. James charged Mal Greenlight with Eld Fuchina. A katana duel, this is just like home, my kind tourist. Shusui started charging his fists too. James used about 50% of his magical stamina, his fist molten and arm glowing, the immolation aura burned the air. Shusui's fist shone bright like a star. Arsa Kicker series, Arsa Kicker punch. Neutronstar punch. Huh. They jumped and met each other fist on fist in the air, hair flying, nostrils flaring, James' body pumped blood fire and Shusui black demon poison. From the vial. The arena was shaking, the crowd flew up from their seats and vaulted, because in between the fists it was power like two hydrogen bombs. Their arms were shaking as the fists struggled in power for a moment. Blam! Like a shot from an explosive ballista, Shusui flew and made an even bigger hole in the arena wall, someplace else. James's punch was twice as strong. Are you trying to remodel the arena with my head? Shusui emerged, honest hand on his head. His face mask had been broken and revealed what looked like a robot samurai anyway, with a black goatee. Look, I'm out of patience here, I'm going to use my strongest, most ultimate attack, and you're going down. There is no tanking this, no one has tried, they just accepted their death. Shusui. Give me your best shot, Sonny. Supernova Spectre Demon Immolation. With crazy speed, Shusui had a demon aura, Baked Kujira, the ghost whale, white-black lightning elongated his two swords, his swords lit on fire. He went for a double cross-slice in blazing invisible speed technique. James presented his monster mass back, double lats spread back in Absolute Unit. In black and white everything was distorted, the demon aura emanating around the attack. It sounded like metal on metal. James turned around victorious after tanking. Oh, that was your attack, you're gonna have to try seriously if you're going to beat me. Demon, what are you? Shusui said in denial ironically. James had a force inside him like a mountain again, keep the impact of a star in your fist, he remembered, he spun 270 degrees and said. Cutting edge accountant's elbow, Shusui's armor broke like glass. And, Arsa Kicker, Godkiller. Shusui would turn shockingly white and black with the environment shaking at the impact, not unlike being electrocuted like two planets colliding in God's bloodthirsty destruction. He spewed blood, his eyes widened and he flew into the arena wall with power, breaking the seats. He stumbled back into the arena and with his hands on his katanas he died standing up, like a man. James were awarded the prize money with primitive confetti in an interview. I did this as a student of Toadsburg, I couldn't use any armor. He said like a partying bachelor. You did no armor willingly? Here we were thinking the opposite the entire time, said Hank. James was ready to travel to Arkspire, he would adore a culture such as the dwarves he thought, like he liked visiting Paris, or Madrid. Well, he was going to teleport, he was rich, a ha-ha-ha rich of rivers of gold like gold rush connoisseurs, aficionados. The potion was golden and had a dwarf king on the lid. Smash. He exited a ring of osmium, onyx and opal, interesting. At molten plumes and black smokescape he saw a dwarf army, they were sons of Magellan, the first dwarf. They had thick plates of 5 times 10 centimeters small plates chained together, over a chainmail. It was heavy and contemporary for the military, they couldn't see much through the helmets, just like the mounts. They were silvery and sleek like silk, reflecting a curious value. The silver was priced through crafting and generous deposits. They were riding on giant pot-belly pigs, black and gray, their bellies were a centimeter off the ground. Curious smacking evolution, high cholesterol and cancer risk just like their food, but they didn't live to be 150 like the dwarves. Gnomes are related to dwarves, not elves. Others had pikes, polearms, legendary lances fiery and gemmed with blessings of djinns, riding on armored bears with golden horns and somewhat golden spiked round shields. The beards were fashionable, colored every color, thick outwards like it would be out of breath, and the stomach was thick, not finding its place. The animals jumped around obediently, there was not 100% communication, will and loyalty between the men and animals. What is our business here? The dwarf was intimidating with his two-handed warhammer resting over his shoulder. Shopping. Don't go near the hearth of melting hearth melt. I don't know where it is. Don't worry, it's in a restricted area. James scratched his head, walking a little bit as they rode on. He did not come to aspire, but downwards. A giant dwarven architectured hole, they had mined and delved over 3,000 years, one shovel at a time, timeless. Excavating like an eternal plan, like stopping dams. The city was partly built to the walls, into the walls of levels, underground, and then they delved even more deeper. 100,000 dwarves lived in the deep and dank, feeding the cave beasts and ignoring the sun, its promise of serotonin. James went down giant stairs winding left, right, left, and left a bit off the wall. He would spiral down in what seemed like confined mage towers, logical districts for travel and sand. It left footprints that hold of unease. Lava stream lit the walls underfoot and similarly magically on the wall like a lava lamp. Already there were corridors into the walls. Who knows how much of the city was built in there, 50 to 300% more. An infestation. Buildings stood out partly, piercing black and white, gleaming brass and modern ideas. They had different symbols yet agreeable, golden, large and rectangular. Plateaus as well. You could drop a ball all the way down to the bottom, maybe it would need to go out of sight. As far as he could see in this 4,000 diameter by 6,000 meter deep perfect hole, only disangled by buildings, there were pristine houses, halls of spear, bears, berserkers, fire elementals ruined and armored, fire elemental dragons, sulphurous dragons, half-dragon half-lizards, super-armored titanium dragons that spewed lava burning over time, runekeepers, dwarves made and crushed runes for their powers in combat, and thanes. Halls of drinking before and after battle. Some hops grew next to distilleries even without the sun. There was dwarven beer and spirit of every kind. The famous names had their factories here, large and small competitive delicacy. An 8 double liver bomb, Valhalla's Honord 6, Dungeon Master's Draft, Dragon Breath whiskey purple and auburn. Ogre's Foot, Scottish Cayenne Espresso. It has whiskey, short stack lager, Barfy Ape, Alpaca Bitter and the girthy Gargantuan. James passed many opportunities to drink. Eventually he settled in a place hunched over, watching a small street drinking that was a very hops heavy and dark ale, Dwarf Guinness. Greasy Jaundice's barbecue joint and contemporary bar was white, dark gold and brown. It looked not too far from Japanese, at least there wasn't anything closer. They conned people of dwarf wares between the fish, and were pleasant to be around in their melancholic, mild sedation. Her sister Anne Formaldehyde did the really greasy work, like Eagle Curry, licking her fingers. He was defeated analyzing his surrounding dwarves. They had proper smitheries, melting every ore in double-efficient furnaces, technique that required less coal, hotter or colder, molten sparkles and fire breath that seemed hot but were doing different metalwork, giant teal, magnesium green, working through heat, and not. Thanes were big and fat, related to dwarves. They were used in battle for their affiliation to air and fire magic, and size. Chain lightning exerted from their weapons, firewalls and immolation in their wake. They could swing and were ferocious despite being 2.5 meters tall and 2 meters wide, often shirtless and red-skinned. Spear-wielding berserkers feared no enemy exempt from tricks of the mind, except psychology. Preventing their relentlessness, and with dwarf magic and helmets, they were immune to mind magic. They could go contemporary insane and fought sometimes with brass knuckles, katars. Runekeepers used ranged magic, magical X-comets, reduced their resistance against dwarven strategies. They fireballed deadly and conjured mistily illusions. Many dwarves summoned fire elementals with runes and potions. They could smash one each. They had mechanical artillery dwarves more than bow and arrow, lots of siege weapons firing giant crossbows which only downside was the aim. Scorpions, small trebuchets, armored mantlet and fiery siege catapults shots for enemies not always forts. Dwarf king-headed rams. There were wall-climbing siege towers and explosive traps. Moving wood animals filled with TNT, chemistry and fire, thyme and cilantro. At the bottom of the stairs felt like elevating the ground. He felt like in a different country, the energy from the earth and what carved rock laid above it. There were opulent detailed gray and gold roads with more Japanese-looking gates. They had prospered from the wealth of the land. Luxurious capital was golden fortuitous.
Oh yeah, look at that.
There were shops for dwarven craft. Tourists were here more than any other hole. Small girthy weapons, arbalist, throwing potions. He went through wells that spiritually told of huge toad monsters and many craftsmen and armorers looking his
Sun-Yun ramen. Sun-Yam. Vegetarian. 3 bags.
He went through wells that spiritually told of huge toad monsters and many craftsmen and armorers looking his way happily after customers for a few seconds. In the middle of the giant Chinese-looking dwarven square was a teleport hub, lodestone and 6 bending spires into a lowering of elevation. It looked melted, in some places frozen. Wizards and elves and cosmopolitan dwarves teleported thus. Wizards were travelers, concerned with information and status. Maybe it was not for outsiders like him. Stranger hospitality is never 100% like friends. But it can be easy to become one with the elusive Vikings or Valkyries or dwarves. People look for a kind of belonging and loyalty, sometimes without difficult testing. But it's the kind of loyalty that requires little speaking and simple answers, doesn't it? Concerning for a penetrating thinker like James, he would have a different testing, egregious and conscious of tricks, exerting and thorough. Loyalty done inefficient is auxiliary in thinking, like teenagers' best dwarf pop broads boards. Many people had indeed counted James among the loyal, trustworthy and reliable, but he had been leisurely kind of, as a genius waiting for something more complicated and fitting. Loyalty is easy to some and for some, but if you're not honest about the process you might be snuffed out all the same. Loyalty to friends is something more sacred for our character James, in this book. Underground were where it was, more luxurious halls, large of gold and grey iron, mixing of steel and rock, where grey and metallic looked sleek. Somewhat flat cobblestone, magical lightning roaring like a fisher, a land hidden from tall onlookers. Furnace-looking lightning down here was actually not furnaces. They made grand gorgeous. The halls could be 100 times 100 meters large and 50 meters off the ground, most luxury. Halls for dining 10 meters in roof, one table as a cross-fitted 200 people. They had mastered fishing in the cave systems and murk, deep-sea fishing platforms with magical merman harpoons, ballistas shooting heavy, considerably ugly fish. There were sailfish of 3 kinds, brown, light blue and white blue. Fastest in the waters they were, muscular with just a tail, the water having seldom resistance. Delicious murk turtles of black colors and brown, cave fish pale and rare, nutritious and cheap. They had temples mostly golden, fit with capitalism or entire religious houses made of gold, combinations of other precious resources, mined close. The main precious resources mine started in the middle and would go west, developing zones around it. The richest dwarves lived in a gated community which James thought was concerning and offensive. Politically, he thought, was he not fine enough to live in a gated community like them? What problems did they have here? I guess riches make you more fine. They didn't care and would never care. As a bodybuilder giant like Ronnie Peanut Coleman James bent curious heads, barely fitting or crouching in less centered capital, it seemed half of the time the architecture was considerably big enough for people like him, racist, spiteful history he was taught, hidden where not expected. Ronnie Coleman made James think insane thoughts, like getting up to eat during the night, say lightweight to peanut-sized 400 kilogram squats and, that's heavyweight, consequently, it made perfect sense. A small-town cop like him with genetics so good he won professional bodybuilding competitions without steroids was one of James's idols. He connected mind and body, lightweight and peanut. Leg pressing 550 kilograms, James could only do a few times actually. Now there was a way of steroids and human monsters without the consequences, time to become limitless, the time was thus, he would live to be big, as biceps and personality. To a clerk where the miners and smithers clock in to work, he asked for Albert the Starsmith, they said at the end of the Hellforge Auburn 7.5, sky searching. James went through the mining district, it was white sleek steel and white, colored as sand, they had industrious bits of mithril, coal, dragonbane and gold, everything grand and moving consciously, until everything was gone. There was dragonbane abyss black, excellent weapons against shapeshifters, gemstones containing purple sapphire, ruby even dragon crystal something they exported to elves so they could make crystal potions, 3 potions in one, only dragon crystal like red granite was good enough for them. While mining the granite you could just drop it on the ground, it seeped through sand slowly into treadmills underground, being small to roof even for dwarves. Together they made drinking horns replenishing mana that never could be fully drunk as long as there were seas, about 10% were returned, being drunk to the generous end. There were walls of sandstone 3 kinds and clay, dwarves mined on ropes and stairs made in the material or they had small carts hanging on ropes that were fit for elevating. To warn miners of toxic air that went through the mines in pockets and the season they had not small songbirds but the giant yellow almost golden pigeon. Dwarves could ride it although they were shuffled off in it. They enjoyed the deeply over the white steel slopes, things turned pre-damp and more dangerous in the unspoken deep, so thoroughly truly in there you found air no one has breathed, smelly and dank. Dinosaur-like creatures breathing fire and acid, like the headbutt hunk smashing its head though pretty much no aggravation, related to goats or the presumptuous Bisipae. Your mind weakened as greed filled the insane membrane, with pressure in the skull and your best sanity timer. Dwarves were reasonable delving through, knowing just when to keep sanity and be productive like straightforward, but would try again deeper after resetting, gathering safely the previous step. They mungered sanity sobriety potions, dependent and angry at the economy. They had gone deep, insanity tests the confident like sin. Flowing gold, silver and platina had been found, flowing through thick. They flowed from deposit to deposit, only a few active and less collected. Routinely the dwarves switched from deposit and deposit. They had found black stone and granite golems getting upset and smashing if you mind, they looked like they had valuables deep in them but it was just a trick. 5 sizes of intelligence and mountain magic. The combat granite golem was thoroughly, piercingly punching but did not fit always in the tunnels and crevices than dwarves mind. Protecting like a sentinel. The dwarves skillfully mostly avoided them dodging like they got paid for it even if they could fight. Spiritual ferrets could be seen entering and exiting small crevices. Aliens, some said the dwarves. He chugged his steroid potion and algaes and continued onto the wilderness mine, a coal, charcoal and onyx history. It was the lowest paid lowest rank mine requiring the least skill and dwarf blood. He saw some lowly black elves and clay-colored black-eared imps serving their prison sentence thus. At the end of giant forges with 6 anvils in a circle and 6 holes into the furnace, walls somewhat dividing them he saw Albert. He was a girthy, round person but looked actionable. He was balding with a 5-knotted silver beard wide down to his belt, the 5 knots went into silver bracelets. He was as ceremonial, golden and detailed as his swords, his face looked like that of a barbarian and a Napoleon-like leader. He was a dwarven craftsman proud of infinite crystal colors, like church glass maybe more like gems on swords, maces and axes. He was ahead of their culture, you had to push him a little bit to make the best handcrafted art pieces and he had to get into a stride. Greetings Master Dwarf. Greetings Black Tower in the chessboard of triceps and thus. I know your cousin Arnold. I'm the pretty one, and smart one and I have a better beard. He's got a good reputation in London now, with an elf apprentice. It must be the elf who is a genius, my cousin can make some good armor, but he never understood the finer crafts. like a race car driver folly understanding physics ACHH we. I want the best gear possible, I want to make an order. I can pay 15% more for haste and maybe a dwarf telling me about this deepness. This dwarven plate is not like normal plate. Super feldspar quartz. They learned from infernal legions their infernal plate, removed citrine and added quartz. Anyway, it can conduct electricity on the outside, doesn't hurt you. Absorbs fire but gets hot enough for you to want to take it off. Or did you mean Fateweave shooting Maestar armor? Our legendary ceremonial armor, it's 4,000 pounds per piece and weapon. I can make 100 orders. I ransacked the dragon's nest before the mithril dragons spit their flame. Alright mate, I can be your smith and paid guide, probably going to turn into friends in the professional environment, I can already tell. Or acquainted, feels like I want to say I'm not greedy though, I do this for the craft mostly, consistent salary and history. Golden arrogance has its limitations, its power can't transcend and you keep nothing when you die. I want this 3 meters katana reinforced shooting star. That's a proper katana. Full plate armor minus 1 arm, morning star, 2 daggers, double AXE like an S on one side, pole arms looking like this one I'm carrying. Some throwing axes. I have a shooting star double AXE lying around waiting to be bought, it increases your magic like a conduit. Same price as a regular one, expensive. And I can make these thin throwing axes, like a shuriken and a flying axe, every angle will stick. I dwarf. Consider it's done already, Black Knight. What's a little hammering? I'll get on it. What's that clothing you have there? Excellent light armor, carbon fiber. An armor of the future. Can I have some? Maybe I should study it. It's about the connections of coal to coal at a very small level. Diamond has the most, enhance your magical microscope. There you go. He looked genius and interested with this crafting treasure. You should grow a beard so people don't think you're a woman. Maybe a handlebar mustache. Learn some fire magic from the Thanes while you wait here, they don't feel listened to here and respect giant humans. He went through massive halls, tall to roof, far from all things inside, horizontal bridges over horizontal bridges leading into more glorious halls of different elevations. He went through giant kingly forges that looked like it would be operated by giants. There were basements of basements with treasure. That's the king's treasure room, you can look and dive for 100 dwarven coins but there's a spell like security grumpiness if you choose to steal. The closest thing was the dragon's nest treasure. At the Thane quarters which were fire and elemental lightning, there was a teal and lightning glowing specter 20 diameter times 80 high with circular teal stairs most merry way then they cut off you had to swing with a chain or grapple across to ascend higher levels several times. What's up biggie small Thanes? What's up muscle balloon thus, a fire Thane with a burning hand said with an impossibly deep voice. The stairs lead to nothing, what's the point of that, he pointed. They're stairs of ascension, they tell you about evolving and clues to the next step. You can't comprehend to get further than you can. It's about not lingering with mistakes your heart regrets I think, knows is wrong. At the top there is turning into energy, it's not. My brain tickles and is elevated as I purify my past self's mistakes of 1,000 generations samurai. There is sharpness and there is accuracy. Negative moral stubbornness keeps us still because ascension is about understanding emotion in the set of strengths, experiences and shortcomings we are born with. Not much being the most clever scientist, performance and fame. Understand and accept how the circumstances are fine and your place through. Be a good enough person to match the transcendence energy. Figure it out before you die Mr. Muscle. Not necessary the toilet cleanser. Fate is something based in concrete birth predisposition I say as well, enough strength, brains carves the unusual way of fate. Like zigzagging through danger. If you munger your brain and biceps you can alter your fate. Why don't you feel listened to, Thanes? Our culture is thus, peace and lack of war, ardent culture in dwarf holes, disrespected as brutal by elves and barbarians, but we are no more killing than humans or savage as omnivores. Who are we to care for when we bludgeon and languish, there is war every time peace fails. There is cunning, courting, brain and brawn thus, atrocities fit in war, we can't control every Thane. You want us on your side through as diplomacy fails, the diplomacy climate is sour half the time anyway. I want to learn your special magic, Thanes. We teach thunder magic as well. You're like us thus, so no charge this time Jim Ferret. I am shredded I admit I have never bulked intending on eating. You should see World's Strongest Elf competition, they never win but it's named after them. We gather there sometimes in league with dwarves, sometimes separate bracket. Like the gnome toss. At the Thanes shooting range there were furnaces making rock glow and anvils, a very furnace feeling overall. Like inside a short-tempered volcano. The fire Thanes had white ponytails and wizard beards, chainmail pouring over their legs in waves and plate chainmail legs. The Thunder Thanes had shorter beards, blonde and light blue glowing eyes like smoking teal with a circle metal conduit like wings on their back, like a shaman and were tankier actually. This fire plume is close and is earth magic, do you have the earth magic experience required? Eldclot you put your fist into the ground, think about earth channeling use an earthquake technique say it. Eldclot follow through the earth and boom, a deadly fire plume erupts where you aimed. With Toadsburg's strenuous training he could learn this, but aiming took a lot of concentration like holding onto a wild leash. It is high damage, high mana, cooldown we usually engage after one ranged strike. Muscle balloon, bellow to Thunder Thane, listen closely I won't repeat myself. For humans it's futile to use chain lightning like I can hear with my fingers and mace. Enchant your battle axe permanently with chain lightning using a topaz or sapphire, use lil mana to chain strike, buy a bigger sapphire so you won't have to refill contemporary. Make your gem burst one time into devastating red-white thunder like Zeus fingers. What are those weapons you have there? Naginata's, he looked like Guan Yu. A curved blade on a spear is excellent. Bigger pointy end, ask the dwarves if you want to buy one. What's that book on the pedestal? It looked innocent. It looked singular yet adding something to the environment, fitted in. It's an unreading book, read it to lose a skill at random. Takes a long time really makes you think about not reading it. I'm not tempted I think, what about that one next to it on the next pedestal? Don't read it, it's the book that instantly kills you in 40 minutes. That's how long it takes to read it. So 40 minutes after I start reading it? No, you can stop at any time. Wait, there's sulky Thorgard again, depressed, prevent him from reading the instant book. He adores every dame like a poet, I bet they have broken up with him again. To be fascinated by women you need to be a philosopher. These are some glasses also that do not increase your vision, but make you look blurry to everyone else. This is how nerds see, shattered perspective, crystallized. A few days later of hammering, at Arnold's thus. Alright, that's the plate body perfected. He dropped the hammer, that's enough hammering. James, let's go relax contemporary. Are you going to outdrink me? Follow me, let's get a spot in the Grand Arcspire bathhouse and the Dwarven hydraulic press. Massage and chiropractor parlor. First James put on his tightest black swimming trunks. Moist salt and sea soap smelting bricks led them to a huge wooden bathhouse pool. It was square-shaped this one, two similar elevations of water. Let's slouch into the salt furnace. Inside was 14 by 20 meters, 3-story wooden box. It's a sauna. It was sleek and browner like mahogany, thin stretches of wood on the floor and pleasant on the wall. Toast your extra brain cells, Black Giant. With suave people in blankets they went to the second floor. I can feel this one. My fat stomach keeps me resilient. In the floor in the middle, 2 stories, where the hole and fiery rocks spawned sauna steam. I'm going to add some steam, said a bald gnome with nose like a bicycle seat. No you don't, short stack. Someone stop him. Okay Albert Engelbrecht Engelbrickson, let's efficiently clear us of bacteria at the top floor. Those are Starsmith steel ingots, it will be 170 Celsius. Tight swimming trunks, I'm not very homosexual, I just love drinking and relaxing after work. He didn't know it but he was pushing limits thus. If you were gay I would have spanked you with a baguette. Never feel safe, he pointed a muscular finger. Do you think Tarzan thought of gorillas as dates as there were no humans? I think he was gay. Upstairs were sweaty tryhard dwarves on their bricks. Concerned, judging quickly, changing looks back straight. Take these elven painkillers, staunchly whiskey mog. Those aren't legal. Alright, I have bourbon through painkillers from mercenaries' quarters, said resourceful dwarf, ESFJ. The lot swallowed like medicine and felt instantly painless, medicated and sweet like bourbon. I like hot showers after too, said Albert, sat down. I don't feel that tall here, more like smart. It's a stereotype that dwarves are Scottish drunks, said a square-nosed dwarf, then 5 of them drank beer glasses in unison. You are the biggest man I have ever seen, said a narrow-faced looking dwarf, bald spot. Too bad you don't have tits last, they said. Shut up, I can wear a kilt if I want to. Well, do you get out often? Said the man next to him unexpectedly. It's more important to get in here, I bought the year subscription with healthy swimming. Like a Greek bathhouse outside there was contemporary socializing, beautiful pillars, beautiful women dressed in white robes. They had swimming routes separated magically in the next room. If you touched the teal beam it would fill you with a desire to drink dwarf beer. Beautiful crystal light blue water, see through everything. In the end, 21 meter to roof was 6 ramps to jump from, 1 meter to 20 meters. The ramps and stairs were breathtaking culture chiseling project from students, 2 meters brown and golden dwarf prince head at the highest ramp. Stories of battle history up the sides. There was grandness and there was loudness, the people speaking like unable to pierce, stressed. Arctic chilling baths next to the sauna were minimalistic. 2 Finnish dwarves sat head popping up like tumors, staunchy and stern. Kinoste kuin kilo pasca. It interests me as much as a kilogram of shit. Perkele. A pet bear ran away. They gathered height, looking at the tall to roof crazy bathhouse, climbing on shaky ladders. Splash the elevated bathhouse hotties with some water. Down they went into a giant sink, or toilet. Speedy they spun almost flat in 10 diameters about 10 times. Getting sucked down a spiral and that went with magnified magical glass, feeling infinite like sliding you could see the entire bathhouse, eventually pooped out at a small claustrophobic instance with green smoothing tropicalness, figs and palms. This is a fun one, hidden slide in the hysteria. You gather speed with your fat like a cannon. You're obviously the biggest absolute unit they have had here. There's a water channel that goes through the entire bathhouse. In almost 15 minutes they went in grand tropical themed leafy streams, starting at the 21-meter roof. You could go onto the roof and sit in more chilling classical waterholes in the roof. More Finnish people were spotted going there and thus. Going through 3 different possible streams, they were about 2 meters deep and wide. They slithered, snuck around other water themes. They came upon a beach oasis in the middle, elevated 10 meters where you could take a break, popular spot. Alforer, you tit. Albert, you're shorter and wider since we last met. Give me that. The short man robbed the short kinsman. Albert took 2 strawberry raspberry mojitos, almost without alcohol, and gave one thus to James. James chugged, eyes going cross-eyed outside. I have grilled Angus steaks. Keeping to your diet, I see. I have vegetables in theory. I ate them. That hamburger is a piece of cholesterol art, 10 burgers, 10 pieces of back dwarf bacon hanging in 2 different directions, fried eggs, jalapenos. If you were any shorter you could do backflips under the bed. Let's go to the main beach, James, he said, naming his superior. A fine craftsman needs better than secret alcoves. They kept on and chose the shortest direction. They were a huge beach next to another Greek-looking, huge house with water streets, and deep indeed. They climbed 1 meter to get to a plateau where they were magically elevator like hovering in teal magical streams to the top, 50 meters. What do you talk about while magically whirring? New capital technology. There latched outside the bathhouse was a twisting long water slide, wide of 3 meters, covering around to the roof. They were supposed to get points from going faster and hitting people who went before you, a 13-minute game. Albert climbed on dwarves and pulled their shins like ragdolls, though was menacing like Scottish and the realist pessimist. You should take a swim in the far-out space loop, there is nothing like gazing upon the stars, floating in space, literally. I'll pay you this time. They went to a stern wizard that started making chicken noises, seemed to phrase some music but balking. Thus they teleported into starry frontiers, like exiting a changing stall. They had a small beach and a swimming loop, water hanging in space bottomed out at blue plastic, or maybe it was a metal. 700 meters long, it was like an U, maybe 7 meters wide and deep. James dove in like no gravity and floated incandescent in space. He took in energy from planets and seemingly aliens. It seemed as he looked out, there was an energy back at each planet. He could hear whispers and stories with complex undertones of personalities and actions. The swimming route looped, so James had to swim upwards eventually. I don't mind paying for this, I get what I get. A bit of eternal relaxation, respite, unless you get space dementia. James would return next weekend and enjoy thoroughly on repeat, beaching like an arm-focused whale, drinking every cocktail at a beach bar, but only because he was a gourmand. The alcohol eluded him like something annoying. Albert showed him a corridor of the latest dwarven cutting-edge tech, savvy Sebastian Street. There were brass and golden stands, sausage and dangerous cables, round protective glasses. 1 twat bar please. He showed him thus, a balls, sky-firing rocket called, to the moon. You attach it into your enemy, then they go into the sky. Like a shepherd's noose by God, or upset bodybuilder none. I can teach you to fish like us at the fishing platform, said assertive Albert. It is a fine part of the capital indeed, the money goes in and through here. They rode in a minecart, James not fitting like 2 small beige pants until at a cozy dimly lit docks, categorized dwarves penetrated with magical boat engines. They felt like in a steampunk industrious cosplay, the boat sped on with rented gear. The cave complex was huge and kept getting larger, they saw it like something gray and brown, like a city on the horizon, a huge fishing platform. This is called the mire. There were cozy fishing buildings, like lodge. It was like an Arctic hunting lodge maybe, claustrophobic with practicality, smelly leather and ropes part of the construction. They had whiskey called quintessence and essence of constipation that didn't make you worse at fishing. Try this, son. I feel like a legendary worker. Elven energy drinks. You crap your pants if you're not elvish. I tried, it really works. They had huts with people who lived here like the seer predicting an island would appear. She knew the day would come, yet it was never the day. Here's a bread that looks like fish that's going to attract the squid. They went to plank bridges held together by ropes with hemp huts, like for ropes, the material, which they drank hemp protein shakes and wiggled their toes deep, thus Albert inclined. That's a huge building. It's deeper underneath. They went into a spire down, pressure confined with glass and stairs, magical holes where they could fish. We're so deep this seems like every day for the squid. Dwarf Albert wiggled bread until there were 13 armed squid, red and jet black. He pulled it up through the hole and started wrestling with it, kicking. It looked like it was even again at one point. They were dancing in a circle, the squid was like preparing in a guard stance, but then Albert karate chopped it in the head, and it passed out. A little bit of work, bang, $300 you try. We have the diamond pearl boat, an octopus in a round shell, swimming with jets of water and barely any reaching limbs. They jet away, if you can catch them. Eating the fish raw or part in a mana potion restores mana, you will feel energized like it was healthy omega 7. There was barbarian shark fishing where they wiggled their arm and then punched the shark where it came up. They fought like they had been at a bar. Tiger Woods sharks love arms of barbarians. The suit sharks can be made into a powerful draft that makes the time here go fast and you got sharp senses like a shark, but if you leave you feel strange hungover. There are addicts like to strengthen shark personalities. You also get hungover thus if you drink it too much. We have the world championships of drinking every year where the dwarves try to outdrink elves. Look at that poster, you have Bolf Whiskey Stock, a huge dwarf in the top 10, no one ever beats him, he's even 130 centimeters and even more wide. The second best drinker is Brothgar High Mass Whistle, he can whistle from 2 directions at the same time, but not different tones. That would be unreasonable, heck I can bet my right butt cheek that's never going to happen. But oh how wrong he was. We have schizophrenic castrated Carson, a heart doctor. Don't let him near the chainsaw. I like to whisper to him when we're on the dwarf cruiser Brynhild getting over there, open the bottom doors, we're all gonna die. Dante Cicero, he's a greasy tale of unknown strength and drinks. He is also unfeeling at the chili eating contest. There is a stew type and not a stew type. He complained there's a wizard pouring lines of goat into his lawn, so I thought it would be funny to put a biblical amount of hamsters through his window. We're going to feed wizards farting wizards draft before the end and put 50 men in a room, last one standing gets $5,000. Amazing what you can put people to. Only the least feeling, daft or even injured will win. Everyone feels something. We have Hawk Tua the ape that gives people kebab, sober or drunk, and Zeus's blue frothy mustache beer. He golfs magical grenades into his neighbor's house across the lake in his ancient mansion. Hawk Tua is named after the god of mischief Floke. He tricked his worshippers into no sex and especially 11 stupid rules, then he confessed he was gay and chased Bacchus, god of fertility, among other things. Bacchus thinks Floke is stupid and not his type. They went thus into grassland enclosure, medieval brown, tents and beer tent for those that wished to drink only Primadonna bottomless brew. Where I come from we celebrate Oktoberfest, the main part is that you have to drink, he told Albert. Makes sense to celebrate something in autumn, it's so dark and cheerful. There's Brothgarheim right now. He was busy being famous, red-faced and already being outpaced by his surroundings, peers. He was a red-haired unit like a test for any fashion, red like a fox using a double shine and screaming. He was between fat sphere and rectangle, his ass like a cushion, every short breath inch providing assertiveness. His mistakes, he hoped people ignored. The elves have higher tolerance, but the dwarves are better. We're sponsored this year only by Canadian Rusty Autumn EHH series, easy on the palate, easy to drink, a lot of delicious gourmand stuff. We haven't ignored our competition, said a bronze dwarf announcer. He was shining red bronze, hairy without the quadruple knotted 1-meter beard. James saw some chili being prepared and a 1-meter wheel of cheese they were going to catch rolling downhill, only the smartest humor. Better Bitter Butter Deodorant is the 5th dwarf. He is one that got fatter through dwarven shortbread frenzy. Can you see the difference? There's the last dwarf to the left. The last true idiot, the nameless. The elf you're going to have to watch out for is Philip Reticule Airfryer. You'd think everyone is limited by their foul mouth and arrogance, intolerance from being an elf, but this guy is something else. I can beat him by just being myself, relaxing, he's going to lose his mind. Alright men, we also have James representing humans, this is dwarves versus elves, he can't win any money but we'll see how far he will get. For the gym humans. First Innkeeper's Autumn. James started gulping down like a giant, if alcohol was something to consider, it eluded him. This Innkeeper's Autumn has been spiked with 2000% Tony's tasteless takamaka, we don't want to be sitting all day. Starting out tough, the crowd has regular innkeepers in the middle. James started making cuckoo noises and fell off the chair. The elves started farting, which was surprising, and then fighting. It's just a brawl folks, let's see who wins. The 5 elves sat down afterwards but one of them fell down. Think about King Galathir. I will honor him as a soldier, he hi. All hail. James was thinking about giving up like a steel punch in the stomach, doubting but then toughened up, finding his body resisting stride. Here's a proper English pint of backseat soccer. It wasn't that bad for anyone, the contest was spicing on. They eyed each other like beasts. They were convincing plans and planning their tolerance. James could feel a tension he knew others weren't intelligent in. Everyone is jealous over the stronger and smarter. Here's a grog to make everything complicated, cement cauldron concoction. Bolf was drinking strong, he locked eyes and only missed his mouth so much. Now for coffee in between grogs. Next wobbly legs goblin piss, this grog will make you question more things than why you drank it. 2 dwarves and elves gave up, they staggered and fell, upset and would not be allowed help. They are out, filled to the brim, now is the time for you drink whatever you want, if you think it would help. Dante Cicero helped himself with horseradish nay whiskey, he thought it would help but he fell off, and they would not get him up again, lost like a philosopher. James thought, doesn't matter if I increase my metabolism with the embers smoldering fire magic, tucking the excess away. Now it's time for a Centino vinegar wine, it's half red wine vinegar, don't worry. Italians love not using butter, I've heard, it's calorie dense, better put olive oil instead with 3 times as many calories per dinner spoon. Go home and drink olive oil. And snort pesto. The bread tastes more if you're supposed to have olive oil with it through. Drink Autumn Lethargy II, laziness in a can, like anchored ass. James' head exploded, fire, after he drank. James is out, they say his giant body can drink like an elephant, considerable being bottomless. Brains like a philosopher ever chiseling. Bolf, you have an ass like a steel beam. I sit cozy enjoying for every fan, he said, I'll drink this for you. Every champion has made it so far, unrelenting, so we will speed things up, a bit of Tony's tasteless takamaka, no regurgitating or you're out. That's it, I'm out, said an elf. No one said anything about this, he was distanced by a dwarf beauty walking thus and fell into a doorframe, pausing time apart. He was really the grandest and prettiest, thought himself, he just needed to prove it with another person. He expected everything to go as planned, like desperate, it had to thus. Ape's brain and gizzard's ale mixed with ostrich hot sauce. We're going to get a casualty on this one thus. 1 elf choked and spilled like he was being inconsiderable, 1 dwarf regurgitated, they were out. Damn it. 1 Bolf, 2 elves now, show them why and tell them a tale. Bolf activated a legendary stride, he consumed anything in front of him like it was water, golden seamlessness. The elves were choking on their privilege and intolerance, in a liberal yet audacious way. I'm killing it, I have drunk enough to beat anyone, said Philip. This would have been enough to beat someone else's. Elf. I give up. We give up. It was painful for Bolf to exit his stride and focus, maybe he's getting burned out. He celebrated by drinking a shot of whiskey. His brain said, "What are you doing? Stop eating pizza." The chili contest was insanity of man. They got so hot, the toughest elves still put themselves through contemporary hell. Some of the foodstuffs grew there too. The contestants were resurrected or different and sad, being served delicious hot stews. Write new interesting names and characters. Dante breathed fire and Bolf farted a firejet. The elves forcefully already churned, eyes watering. Why is it so hot? This is painful more than hot, like a hot rod, in our throats. Habanero hurts, it's not a nice flavor. Super spicy jalapeno in the next chili. They are giant and look like peppers. The flavor hurts, I would have done better if it were just hot. Piri piri sausage links with the chili. Yeep, it's like getting stabbed in the mouth. Hawk Tua had jets of blue fire out of his nose and ears, he started looking sick. I just needed to get it out. Bulldog spicy cheese noodles. Jesus Christ, that's the new item. You're going too far. They ate the inconspicuous ramen and there was a silence and productivity like they could handle it. This is too much. I'm drinking my one beer of safety. My mouth refires every time I breathe. Drinks, I can't do this, man. I can eat 100,000 Scoville hot sauce, but not this. The Bulldog ramen claimed 4 dwarves and 4 elves out of the 16 contestants. Hell's third floor habanero chips. They are spicy but tasty. So you say. It's like eating spicy saucy glass, my lips are bloody. I can't speak, it's too hot. Carolina Reaper cheese flips, the heat comes on after 10 seconds to consider your fate. Weak and inexperienced minds gave up like cowardice. 1 dwarf and 2 elves threw in the towel and seemed focused on the now like elevated. This tastes and feels like food poison. Now it's time to just eat a bowl of chilies. They laid like Satan, gleaming red and laughter of promise. Delicious, said Bolf dwarf, shoveling it in like used to flame. He passed out, his body being surprisingly vulnerable, like a bad thought into destructiveness. The greater feelings you have, especially like fear and worry, the more easily are you to knock yourself out. Everyone was quiet and worried. Soon they realized it was time for the farting contest. James thought, why don't they pick Wizard Yensid? His instincts were flaring, but you know they don't know him, imagination and reality clashing. The wizard looked focused and in touch with reality, like he was not going to fart petrifying fumus. Are you ready? I'm ready. Who knew what went through the 50 contestants' heads as they waited, in moments defining their lives, or at least Saturday. They were facing each other in common group animal suffering, ready to shoulder their part in the contest of Spartans. I want to join as the 50 member, how bad can it be? Sooner than you think. The wizard, looking like a unicorn rider in blue, teal robe edges, hat, boots, drank the farting wizard's draft. It looks like it went down like water. Wow, that tastes addicting, I drink this more often. Burp. The wizard said before farting. You are not prepared. Fart reverb deep, explosive, it was like getting pulled down a Grand Canyon. The wizard made a shredding flatulence that made the gods aware of their shortcomings. Instantly 4 wizards fell like domino bricks, lifeless and gray. Like a poor helpless small animal they were, expert at the world of their size. The crowd whirled in poisoned senses, punishing dark world. Earth cough cough, a stout tough oak, coughed like he was dying, then fell on knees, then face down. I'm going to drink to clear my head, distract me from reality. With enough distraction, you feel nothing. Wow, you are going to win. Arg, this tastes like farting by my sister. The fart is at the surface, keep drinking. You are equal in this strategy. Gulp. We will make it through with strategy. Master Broth was dancing, waltz and strategizing, he put effort where it was required perfectly, yet he was laying on the floor knocked out, mind wandering. The contestants were getting distracted by their stupid minds and foggy air and tell. Wow, this is getting worse. They were starting to get really foggy judgment, delirious thoughts and qualms. Yeah, it's going to get worse beyond normal imagination. There shall be only one champion. Am I going to die? If you stress too much, don't think about it, pushing it away when it is vaguely there every 10 seconds. And yet when it had entered his mind, it stayed out of the light and would not go away, entering like panic and preparation and obsession over control. Wizard Alpha Stanley started farting again. I am going to cry. AWWH, Jesus Christ. That is too much. Erg, make it stop. Someone that looked quite like Daisy started screeching. They could have been sisters. This is too much to watch, said James to Starsmith. I'm watching them tear like beasts. I'm losing my religion. Contestant. Hawk Tua started farting considerably too. This is politics. There were only 30 contestants left now, some sitting down or squatting had passed out, they sat like dead statuettes, like a great inhuman plague, alive in a morgue light green and grey. A man with white fisher's beard and like a fisher's mannerism coughed, like smoke it wouldn't go away, cough he pulled down deeper cough, he pushed himself and coughed worse than one could imagine, and less from a smoker. He fell to the floor unconscious, he fell graceful, his good spirits leaving. Summer winds of the great serpent. Everyone's beard and mustache started flying, the smell was shared like shocking account and accuracy. We're going to make it, let's team up in kindness and fair fate. Together we have no fear. Hawk Tua agreed, but as he looked back at the hand on his shoulder, with the person had fallen, in the deadly ever-thickening fog. The woman laid beautifully on the ground, choosing her last conscious wish, crying. She was gone like a winter dream in fever spiders, the distance of despair. Gather in the middle, the fog will reduce your area left. Watch this. Bolf was squatted over, he would lit his fart on fire with a dwarven kind of lighter. This is nothing, I am a real man. There was an explosion making you kind of conscious of mistakes, chemist mistakes. First you couldn't see the result. When the smoke and hazelnut smell passed there were 9 people on the ground, ravaged, still and quaint. 4 people left, said the announcer gravely, he was sympathetic as a spectator can, surprising himself and sharing compassion. We can get through this, said Cuscodal Croissant. Because I believe we can, this is a test of our times. Every test defines a generation. Or at least until next year, Whoops better not mention it. As he said this, 2 gave up. 1 even said it. How dare you? What did I do? I give up, and spun weak on his knees, passed out. I'm not going to give up, said polearm aficionado Hemmel. We'll see, he said like an ESFJ, being ready to prove grit. They started getting lightheaded and shivering, Hemmel had a seizure. All I wanted was to buy a houseboat for my family, a proper large place where we could exist far away and free, said Hemmel, anywhere we could sail the seas seeing the world map as a fish or penguin, then he passed out. There is one to best them all. You have no smell, fishmonger Boer. Boer 1. Boer 1, everyone cheered heartily through the spectating glass. It was heard like touching opinions. I feel like I have a glowing mustache in my nostril. I feel like I have a glowing mustache in my nostrils, I dissolved through the reality. He was very weak, cheering and copying emotions but barely feeling anything. The fart had triggered his bad mental health, the $5,000 felt like 10 cent or cold and dangerous. What is a resource versus a moral? Next was the legendary schnitzel eating content, this had no point, just like a schnitzel is round. The winner was rewarded a renovating bomb. For the schnitzel veterans, red-faced and out of place, they're 5 schnitzels large as a pancake. I would try this if it were vegan, said James. James imagined eating many healthy schnitzels like oatmeal. We have pancakes, said the cook like a scientist. James and Albert absorbed the professional eater's endless ambition yet slightly larger than their stomach. If I tried this, it would not be the same. They have stomachs that can enlarge like someone pregnant, stretching every time you eat, as long as you can keep it up. I prefer eating something delicious. Pasta, ravioli I can eat infinitely. Bodybuilders eat so much they would turn fat if they didn't work out twice per day. Everyone's upset you need to force feed yourself. Jay Cutler says he's done eating for life, burned out at chewing. What is your ideal cheat meal? I don't believe in that chicken, rice and broccoli gives you more muscle than pizza, hamburgers, rollades. Not that I eat that, one shouldn't eat trash. Steak does not give you more muscle than protein powder. I barely can put enough effort to say an amino acid is an amino acid. In the future bodybuilders will not eat meat for protein, just like it's normal now. There is thinking and wanting to have efficient muscle gain and diet. Bodybuilding takes time, you forget your dream in the daily work, you must love the progress, the day, not the end. Pretty much anyone can be an unsatiated eater like no manners. We all have sides of beast, watch out ramen. There are always the best at least, the top echelon, it's the skinny ones you must watch out for, said Albert. You have to finish the dessert as well, cake with a tiny mint cookie. Would you lose against a wrestler or a fat powerlifter? Maybe, it's fine, I'm fine with losing. They are strong for 1 to 2 repetitions, short durations. I think
Well, here's a good strategy. Maybe we were going to play another game anyway. Might as well play some Diablo, Hearthstone, Smite. Play some Smite, or maybe another RuneScape. I don't know, man. Couldn't ask you, haven't didn't fried chicken. Baguette. Baguette! Baguette! Wow! We can look at Griff Klaus! Holy shit, isn't there a fucking Tornamento on the Twitch? Tornamento on Twitch. Can't play any music. Good. I'm just gonna check for tournaments. It has not started. Maybe it starts in 1 hour, 1.5 hour, 3 hours. Looks like Nixo is doing a 20-hour Harry Potter run again. He's just the content. He's bashing out the content. This guy did a 40-hour stream for some reason. How can these people play rank for so long? I can barely play 2-4 games without feeling like I need to spend some kind of resource for the day. But if I go back to it, if I go back to it, take a break, come back to it, then I can go out for 10 games, It's all in the fat, It's in the reserve energy for sure. Fat gamers are... I can look it up, honestly. Red Bull Wall. Wall, Luigi, or just Wall. Brick wall. April. Well, they said this was gonna start today, man. Fuck.
maybe, it's fine.
It's like the 50-50 something starts today.
Maybe, it's fine, I'm fine with losing. They are strong for 1 to 2 repetitions, short durations. I think there is a medium, stronger strength in going for 12 repetitions. There are the lightweight games and the strongman games. The lightweight games are heavier. Everyone can test how far they can go in the free for all normal Joe competition. They had races suspended in the air, hanging in 2 rings or upside down. Squatting in hands on knees in 4 rings, seeing how long they could keep the position. Sometimes they forgot about them and went home. Are there normal Olympic games? There are normal games, but they are exercised by overweight, unfit people who never work out. There were 9 contestants, they squatted like making a point, the buttocks were all different, looking like a display or tolerant variety. Dragon Rider Maple has a steel position, like his limbs turned to steel beams, he was focused like showing off. Excelsior, puffy pon-pons. I can do this all day, Maple said to his rival Henry the Vacuum, I was born ass first. He really was. You will never beat my ass relaxing technique, I am never fully flexed. They hanged in the air over an hour, asses squatted like superior athleticism. There was grace, and there were people getting stuck like in ear speakers. The first lightweight game was to get a 200-kilo dumbbell off the floor with anti-magic properties, one hand. It was shaped with a handle you could not get your whole hand around, conspicuous and was the problem. Burly men fought with few words, grunts like a ginger, and they all lost the grip of the dumbbell halfway. It's grip strength, isn't it? Wait, I know this. They know they're all strong, this is for the real gym rats, a real dumbbell. As I saw the wide grip, my brain was halfway saying it's about grip strength. I love having expensive gym equipment at home, it is peace for my brain and my portable self-esteem. They say money doesn't make you happy. What about propane? But for someone with bad mental health history, surrounding yourself with luxury things, like big screens, makes me feel almost normal. Now it's about lifting Zeus balls, 2 impossibly heavy balls you must, and balancing them on your back, shoulder. Meaty big guys are helped with their fat and large shoulders, you can balance them up to a podium there, then put the first on your back. The second ball is lighter. For every weight they get up, they increase the time they need to balance with 15 seconds, then increase the weight. There was no good way to grip the bigger balls, and no good place to balance them. It seems a strongman won, sweating profusely, being stable in his mind, through it was hard to tell, everyone just stopped randomly, the stories of how much they could handle wasn't in their face. Next is a backwards run 5 kilometers, in memory of Birdman who flew the wrong direction 5 kilometers, he was a superhero with terrible sense of direction. Ready, set, go. The judge shot himself in the foot with dwarven short barrel tech. Ow. You also have to walk backwards properly, seriously, or you will get disqualified. Stern wheel, jogging arms. These people had some speed backwards, he was sure he couldn't run faster forwards. Next in the lightweight games is a classic get it of the floor marvel. They must flip this 60 kilograms 2 meters tire through an obstacle course, through water, sand, mud with huge waist-sized grass the tire gets stuck on and plants. It looked tiring, but they were quite strong, like ready to shoulder impossible endurance. Up they went through narrow elevation, a game made by industrious people, treating them not unlike hamsters. Further reaching than video games, sometimes inferior. So many things can be made interesting if you make people compete for money. It's the gnome toss next, right? James slurped on a maple syrup cola, this is getting exciting. We have gnomes ranging from skinny to overweight, they will toss 16 kilograms to 24 kilograms gnomes backwards over a 5 meters banner. They had a powerlifter that would make it look easy, he was thick and tall, said his arms would feel like water balloons after tossing every gnome, several times. It was a fun display of power, watching these hulks and hunks throwing 5 gnomes in 10 seconds, breaking the records. The gnomes were upset but also very pliable, they ruined the throwing arc by moving their arms and cursed the powerlifters, but they did not care. For measuring arm strength we have a game where the contestants are relative to their body size. A rope climbing game, 1 up 50 meters as fast as possible, only arms. There's plenty of games, neither is ready to lose. Arm strength games. Lightweight strength and get it off the floor games. Make your own world's strongest man. World's strongest baker. How do we test different strengths? He did ask Albert to make a naginata, but he told him there are competitions to make the best July Star Diamond Speckled Double Platina weapons, untradeable theoretical weapons of unlimited power. James would delve into uncountable deep, in the wilderness mine too far and too deep, beyond the infestation of headbutt hunks, claiming the molten star steel. Mining stars, combining, smelting. Of course the finer hammering would be dealt by Albert, winner-headed, going to win the ceremonial competition. He mined a hole into a corridor, it smelled of dark holes and suction. He felt it was a mistake going in. Quickly there was a fort, a purple crystal, dark steel infestation, he heard mining noises, and his spiritual sense told him of stealth behind. Halt, assassin, he held his hand. Distilled was a pale elf looking sleek and stretched in her face, black war face paint, white thick long hair back into her waist. It was so wide, thick and gorgeous it couldn't be real. Heavy armor assassin, heavy glaive and 6 jagged long dagger outstretched. The dwarves have delved too deep. Don't fight me, I'm an explorer, rich and generous. I don't know what will befall slayers who see through stealth. Drop the pickaxe. Maybe this is a time of diplomacy. Fine, I don't expect you to shut your mouth. Follow me. There was an entrance through the fort with elemental magic. We are the purple crystal elves, our fortress is a dungeon. There were pale white, gray and purple elves busy mining and excavating, at the entrance next to tower elevation stood a 4-meter gray and black-haired minotaur, like a silverback. 2-handed battle axe eventually flat, like it had been cut off. This is a wee excavation site, the money and ores are good. How deep are we? Good luck getting that out of us. I'm going to be generous with resources and fair, maybe encouraging with report, maybe you want your first impression with the above people to be above reproach? Fine, I'll let you see the right woman, telling you about the faction. I make amazing noodles, perfected over years. Real noodles should make you feel light and wanting to eat infinite. They had caves and caves with defense structures, hiding creatures and population. In a huge cave seemed to be the main city, 5 40-meter statues had been made from the roof when it was new, inside were population and guild. It could not accessed from the bottom, the city clashed from buildings stacked in the middle and from the roof sunk. The 5 statues were excavated in a circle. Beneath was a purple-gray castle, sleek and narrow. Unbelievable size and swarm of buildings in this construction. Physics-defying pits where the darkness elemental comes from, shards and fireballs circulating over a plaza. There were many tall buildings for minotaurs, statues of their species, smaller castles for seemingly rivalry. 3 witches will tell your behest. He met 3 witches with similar incredible long hair and many straws. 1 had black opal eyes and hair, looked like a teacher's. 1 white hair and irises, carried a molten, glowing segmented whip, seemed distorted. 1 dressed in red tight leather and fishnets, golden eyes shining like a sun. There is black dragons, the most powerful, immune to lesser magic. Black dragon breath is different from other dragon breath or fire, it is like a different chemical mineral, reacting with seemingly normal material. We push them dimensionally through the smaller caves and through crevices to the surface. They just have to fight with their breath, they rely on it and use it frequently, hitting double targets, raining fire from the sky. They have a 18 spiked head like a beard and moderately dangerous spiked tail, beautiful cudgeling symphony, like percussion. They are the historic bane of the purple crystal elves. Us using it, I mean. We don't fake any strength. Our charging black and purple crystal lizard uses the crystal to reduce your defense resistance down to unbelievable dispel. Don't forget the Naginata rider on it abusing no defense with 100% defense. Crystal black golem fights with magic and looks like a sumo wrestler with the hands. You will see it's superior to golems. If you ingest the purple crystal you see cosmic truth and horror for those with 2000 IQ, but it is not what you want to see. The truth of the universe is insane only for a god to see. We purple crystal elves are superior to elves, don't let them fool you. They are caring of rabbits and moss, weak in conviction. The witch was ready to spit spite thus like acid. Are all purple elves from here related? No, there are many colors to thus, she said, matching his intelligence with cunning. We have to unite the clans, or we can't beat the demons infesting every crevice, coming unreachable from the wilderness mine. We need a uniting enemy or probable cause. You need the Black Hand Towers, chiseling? We have a magic guild, specializing in fire, destruction and spells our creatures are immune against. No, there will be no threat unless you unite the clans. There are many axes or staves that need to be buried, I cannot predict the tolerance. He went to the above people, at least he could see the sky as he went, with inquiries to kings, black and golden he was brown leather between armor. I know of the existence of the purple crystal elves, said King Dwarf, they have been sneaking about for years with their black spells, invisibility, meticulous assassins. They need to be stepped on, we need their ores and mines, magical conduits they make out of the purple crystal. James was appalled, he couldn't believe what black racist tongue was coming out, neither to step in this world. You're going too hot, sire. Soon the world will be covered in regret and whipped cream. I don't understand the connection again, sire. There is no light, there is no darkness, there is only whipped cream. He hit him in the face with a soup spoon of whipped cream. His councilman, the golden cyborg renaissance dwarf, pulled him back after exiting. The purple elves cannot attack, King Narsweel Grim will take everything unless the elves win. He looked like he almost thought through another strategy. They don't seem very evil. Small people never thought of racism from logic, we have to play a lower game. Will you play a two-faced game with the purple clans? I will help you with logic like an inventor. I know how racist people think, they are predictable like a feeler with heart on his sleeve. With his honest plot, James went to the golden eyes shining witch. We need to offer King Narsweel enough resources, maybe with a threat to make him not attack, maybe pretend to have an army 50% greater, say you are united, maybe even when considering.
I need to write some more here.
We need to offer King Narsweel enough resources, maybe with a threat to make him not attack, maybe pretend to have an army 50% greater, say you are united, maybe even when considering. The fate lies in a risky cast, we must find the red dragon glass, both to pay him off and unite the wildblood. Princess Barometer. Wilderness adventure. Paranoia and insanity runs in his family, already he is insane, in stupidity. I won't have them equal, there is only my will. Narsweel chased after the clan leader, jumping on them with his hammer high, the long rival looked distraught and stabbed him in the side with a molten spear, clan sigil being seen hanging at the tip start, then through the neck. Gleg, the tongue pointed out, then the spear was pulled two-handed back through, leaving a dwarf falling on the floor forwards. But he was more concerned getting access to the bottom capital lodestone. There turned out to be 3 things he could do: prove loyal with enough time, pay enough, 1,000 new dwarven coins, or win a 1v1 versus an Arkspire military dwarf. This afternoon he could, an entertaining ring match versus a blackguard dwarf. It was a smaller arena with open corridors and fine architecture like spires and Japanese-looking wood. It was dank, maybe hard to breathe, claustrophobic. There was perfect categorization, identical arenas with mined for population. It was a standard match, the dwarf threw axes, James clad himself absolutely. He was ferocious with battle axes, James honored the 1v1 with an axe and warhammer, they swung, sidestepped and parried, danced defensively and struck patiently. James threw an axe that the dwarf headbutted, his warhammer he charged fire and impact magic into, gleaming, glorious, glowing molten. The dwarf went ferocious to end the game, but as James' muscles grew ever larger and the arena was set on fire with the immolation aura, the dwarf started to run for it. He's an expert, this isn't standard to expectation. ACCH. James shot his warhammer like a railgun and it easily knocked the dwarf around and gobsmacked him unconscious after doing some laps like a ballerina. They gave him a multitude key that was like a keychain that distorted time and space. It bent into nothingness at the right angle and fit 100 keys being pulled and rung right. If opened inwards, it would double in size, revealing more and then more. Heavy were the chains as a silent, proud dwarf lady fit the opal key into the right place. The opal black arcspire stone is a double key. The other side, when you twist 2 turns and push in, leads to the
now we're here. I wanted to show off this part. This is a fun part.
The opal black arcspire stone is a double key. The other side, when you twist 2 turns and push in, leads to the barbarian cosmopolitan city infinite spiritual reincarnation. Teleport thus. Our muscly man entered a wooden village from a stone portal looking like a mirror. It was sleek and fashionable, like brass. There were sword shops, battle axe shops with fitting signs and throwing weapons. With many elevations and a market with tiny river canals flowing through, small enough not to wet your feet longer if you walked. Stalls of gems, silver, fur and cheese. After the market you could climb higher and higher up, stairs that made you fatigue wonder. The houses still popped up inconspicuous of climbing or location difficulty. They had halls of ballads, mellow string music that told you of love, distance, fate and doom metal. The barbarians were wide, the women looked like men and the men too. Ponytails, pigtails, chad beard, Viking helms, round shields, brown, black, white leather and fur. Blonde, black and ginger but not feminine and round, maybe like where he came from. He popped into a longhouse with antlers of every kind. Long strange canine skulls, giants and monsters. There were tables for beer, local wolf steak and barrels that were for show if they weren't drunk. They looked like they told a story. You look like one of us, where do you hail? Said a ginger barbarian with cloven beard accented Irish. No, I just like lifting heavy weight, London mercenary and adventurer. Tell me about barbarians, I'm also a historian. It's a stereotype that we're stupid, said a blonde axeguard. Not every barbarian drinks. But we can drink. It's a stereotype I can't get Lorena to bed, said Jonathan. Jonathan is fucking stupid, said a slayer in black monster hunting clothes. The wheel is turning but the hamster is dead, said his slayer brother. They had large potato noses and black mullets over rough faces. They look professional though. We reign over the eternal golem in the 7 planes, said a brutal brown-haired face with silver magical tiara, royal and elevated on a throne with animal skulls. Take a look with the hawk's eyes. Oscar the village combat huskarl tapped twice with his magical axe and James had the eyes of a hawk and saw golem overhead. They had villages and forests in the back of a walking kilometers high golem. Its arms and legs had kilometers of hollow between some places but seemed connected invisibly, magical or ancient. The land on its 7 shoulders made for 7 plains. Its head had a sea and its skull and waterfalls for eyes. Magical properties differentiated the shoulders and would be dangerous like arcane quantified experimentation. The skull was diamond and platina but if they chiseled it would die, magically held together and on the brave souls of the barbarians, kept together like kindness over inferior animals or non-muscular people, but they didn't know that. On his flat highest back neck they laid. We are the eternal barbarians, train with us, buy some combat lessons, blades and scimitars. It is cozy, but not too isolated. I love strangers, tell me your stories. Eat the eternal boars, can be slaughtered thus return tomorrow. Study the poetry, it's brutal and sincere in it. Enjoy the giant golem taxi, fight us in tournaments. I like somebody new to beat while drinking and steak to share. We specialize in throwing axes, throwing spears, knives. 2-handed mauls and hammers are frequent. The hold ancient halls and spiritual places not only holding the conscious golem. It's pretty peaceful here honestly, there is beautiful green and closer to the sky and barbarian gods, the ones that are barbarian anyway. I'm mostly interested in our colony for trading in Italian shores. The Arctic colony is shit. Arctic colony? Take a gander in ass freezing ice hell. It is on the North Pole and connected to another plane. Another plane? Ihenjar, planet subjugation, we have more territories there, you'd be surprised what spots we have here and there. There are barbarian pirates drinking rum and axing jungle. Open your keychain Onyx Barbarian. He put an ice-colored key except for the middle that was whiter and beautiful. I'm all for the hype but first I'd learn about barbarian combat. Fight me or you're a double pansy, you have to do it, said Jonathan. He came like annoying privilege you have to argue with not only logic but exhausting emotion. Maybe you do have to fight Jonathan actually, we don't like spilling the beans. Unless baked beans, burp said Huskarl. There is no hospitality unless you are one of us, our famous cold is for strangers with merchandise and qualms. If a merchant sells me discount lies I bury him with nerds. You only look barbarian. Shut up Burn, you said yesterday the most important thing is to look barbarian. Why do you have to interrupt me when I'm being stupid? The most important thing is how you plow someone through a wall, right? When you are bigger arms you can never lose, don't lose to strategizing. The barbarians actually went into a smart conversations about honor. In our culture we honor, through death we are reborn in bravery and killing streak. Better dead than running away from battle, there are no shields on our backs. What if you are crippled and you have to run away to survive? Stop saying exceptions, life in battle is not an exception, don't think in how you can get away from responsibility, a fight and injuries. If you are not a coward, live in honor, die by the chains they will set you free to your love. We win over those the dishonorable and are stronger anyways. They weren't kidding. He fights like a cunt but wins, warned one of the brothers Black. After walking in the hostile barbarian mood, they went into an arena of low hollow wood and many had played games in before. James went for a wide robotarm shield on his left and glaive shield on his right. Symmetrical in being shield, offensive like poison ivy. Jonathan came fast and strong, he had strength to set behind his arguments. Oh hoo-ha, so scary, Jonathan said like a blonde cunt, protected. He struck strongly into his right shield with 2 axes, again. Thus, another attack. Ferocious Jonathan looked handsome as he knocked back James a little with each swing, hair waving, an immature being in wisdom, lost when navigating the world like insecure. Jonathan kept hewing axes lodging stuck and had an infinite amount of axes on his body that stuck, some seemed magical replenishing in his hands. James practiced defense, he enjoyed being indomitable behind the shields, he was like a cute turtle, his spirit was protected and the mist was blinding his opponent. He was charging his knee with lightning and impact magic. You think you're so strong, Jim Human, you only think so, ha ha ha. Stupid little broth chugger, feedless cow, lettuce. He knew how to express his superiority, expressed in insecurity, life testing unfairly and unstable structures. Jonathan with youthful strength hewed an axe into James's face cheeks. It was completely absorbed by absolute unit. He looked stern and displeased, his body gleaming black, reflecting changing sources. I'll show you the difference between you and my power, he said epically. Merciless stainless meteor. He tore his armor apart with his glaive shield and jumped, kneeing him in the chest like lightning could crack the heavens. The lightning stunned his body a second, then he flew delayed like he was hit by a star, 20 meters per second east, his body smoked black and his consciousness was faint. Somebody stop me. Nice one shot in it, said the black-haired brothers about the same time. You are just as I thought, a proper talker, backing up with ease. I'll show you a lesson for only 80 quid, said the whiter brother comically and eagerly. Something real barbarian I've been cooking. James paid, saying nothing but with silly thoughts. So what are doing here is that you have 2 magical winged axes, they replenish in your hand instantly, can have many copies in the air, almost comparable damage. Generous spell. You keep barraging your enemies at range till they come close, then you grievous whirlwind with the same weapons out. Like this. The brother spun around like an ADHD twister, he even lifted a decimeter off the ground and its speeds to make him a blur. My brother sells you the replenishing magical long-headed axes, not infinite in stock. The brother said, I fight with 4 Danish axes. He throws them. I throw at least 3 axes at intelligent intervals. Even if all 4 axes miss, he beats them up with his fists. James practiced and thus like a barbarian he learned the grievous dance. It took 60 minutes, they could have mixed something like grapes, apricots at the same time. You might want to help our Prince of the Throne Oslo, he's gone to slay an impossible task, JYMR of the Frost Giants on the 7th plane, and Princess Jacqueline to cure the depression of an impossible pessimist Alistair Ego, said Oscar, cunning and cold like a raven. Inspired by real depression. We told him there's no killing a 10-meter square giant, but he's going to risk everything to prove he's a man, dead man. We barbarians are very insecure about being a man, big arms, wide back, everyone has to be the same and they're not. Either you are good enough of a man or you're not, the test is cheating you like a purpose dishonorable. If you're not a man you're fucked, and so many are not just born this, bulky. Some people are born nerds, some barbs are swayed by nature more than words, there are logistics, building and magical advancement. You're lucky you have the respect of the men. I command the respect of everyone, they just need to be jealous or figure it out, then I back it up with competence, said Chad James. There's always a bigger fish. There's always a bigger barbarian. First he went to Jacqueline, he traveled to the head of the golem, alive like a sun. He took a longboat to the island of Mirth, mistily in secret. It was like the end of times, a speck in the mercy of barbarian gods, like a theater in the end of the universe. Alistair lived in an expensive island, it was lonely, but in privilege you forget the world is cruel. Almost mansion, it was posh, pompous and presumptuous. He laid on a puffy couch with just one back relief, a side roll. Next was unsick Jacqueline, she was black-haired, what looked like a theater writer, compact braids down her sides. She was beautiful in a barbarian way, but there's nothing wrong with that. She looked like a track and field athlete, like she exercised willingly. She seemed introverted but was as social as responsibility. Take me to the restaurant, I must roast someone who thinks they are something. James dramatically entered and put his knuckles on hips. Greetings, I was sent by Oscar, thus, there is lack of time and help surely needed. Did I mention this is pointless? It is pointless, said Alistair. I don't trust people instantly, said Jacqueline. No one really does, I think, I have enough intellect to not be roasted by Alistair. You must be smarter than me, he admitted this like he admitted to darkness, futility and the world forgetting him. I am smarter than geniuses clutching theories of half of everything. Very well, you have my bare patience until you say something stupid. How do you figure out depression, is there a theory? Well, first we can check if there's no way it's pointless to have become thus, something that invalidates cures. Be logically open, if you were dark because of someone being bald and they're actually not anymore, you will be cured like steak. James thought of serotonin and coconut water. I am depressed because I am pathetic, except my mind. I admit it, I am useless and unchivalrous, physically weak and not nice with people. I have never admitted it, people don't like me. Do you want to change then, will you be a nice rich Alistair? Shut it. All you need to not be depressed is a genius mind, find your confidence. Correcting people feels super. You can find confidence in competence and lose yourself in discovery, and need to grow. People think they do anything correctly. All I have are my poetry, game, music and food reviews. Maybe the poetry I write. I have attempted many things hobbies, it's not worth mentioning. This is something to feel good about, you should not feel average either. Who cares about neuroticism? I will destroy the 5 Fat Chefs restaurant in spite, I can do it, he said kind of dark and motivated. Jacqueline made him lay down again. Gather your senses. We must go anyways, it's the only thing that means anything right now. Let's talk over the 5 Fat Chefs tables. Can you pay for me? I will pay for you for anything, you are the only one that cares. In the Islands of Mirth they really had one of the best restaurants, 5 Fat Chefs. For those that could find it. For those that got lost there was a barbarian bar, edge of the abyss. You only found it looking for 5 Fat Chefs. He got almost as many customers, they had killer poker, liar's bar dice game and strawberry-flavored straws for vampires. Inside a mansion-looking restaurant of tall red and black colors they had 5 overweight chefs standing white like protected clouds with 5 pans and different-looking cooking knives on the wall, taking up some non-duplicated space. There's Machete, he is insane but finds and cooks the best wild game, steak and potatoes. Surf and turf, his machete collection is sharp, grand and worrying for psychologists. He can be seen chasing ice cream salesmen with the machetes on the main paved way to Arkspire. Snap him out of it by saying, black my eyes, rip my tongue, cancel my insurances. Plays amazing double bass. The fattest one in the middle had 3 double chins, his chins were wider than his face. Was 300 kilos with too long hat. You knew his fat was trustworthy in gastronomy, like an exception. In many ways he talked and acted like he was not fat, but a whirlwind, at least for a while. They had different disproportional hats but when they stayed together they reached an even height. It's the best, succulent food that has made him fat, nothing cheap has touched his gourmand lips. You are the toast in my soup. I only eat lobsters to restore my health and mana too, said Alistair. There's Albert Long, he's retarded, studied at the best universities for law as a genius but stopped it for culinary school. He will correct you with annoying intelligence and detail, like obviously you should deconstruct an apple pie and flash freeze the sugar. He's so technical you forget to taste sometimes or can't find what to look for first. His impression, while
Now you're not being stupid, right, Chad? Creatine is not steroids. Creatine is not doping. Creatine is a natural occurring compound that you can find in steak, for example. Although you should eat steak, I think. It's the most widely used supplement for exercising and widely scientifically researched. She just said researched. There is nothing else. I must be able to say creatine, the word, and are you sure you understand? Can I have my creatine over there and take them? This didn't mention the. Are you sure you understand? I don't want anybody to see anything, you know. There is nothing.
he's so technical you forget to taste sometimes or can't find what to look for first. His impression, while eating, is unbelievable like supererogation, a little more crazy than good flavors. He's going to go far, this is just a stepping stone for him. Mustached round face is big fat Sal, sauce, soup, garnish and puree master chef, the soup is so meat brothy and good you don't need another dish to be complete. Craziest food challenges, really pushing the limits, what fat people are fine with. He makes the
I mean, there's people and streamers taking creatine all the time, right? You saw. Look, creatine monohydrate bulking agent, glazing agents, methyl cellulose glycerine, anti-caking agents. That's not steroids. Look at that. Nobody fat and ugly does steroids. Also.
craziest food challenges, really pushing the limits, what fat people are fine with. He makes the food look like art, some of his paintings can be seen in the rooms.
Nobody with my size.
Not bad,
arms.
soup is also the cheapest on the menu, 7 quid. Would be presumptuous to serve golden sprinkled soup, said Alistair. We have Ulrecht which insists on only making vegetarian food and dishes, drunk gastronomist. He can compete with the meaty dishes, you have never tasted nuts or cheese before. Fat cheesy light gnocchi you will order. He's offended people think he needs to compete even with meat. Indian bossy mother. Triathlete Thomas handles the carbohydrates, carb lover, sugar from peaches and fiber from haricot verts, psyllium husk. Towers of croquettes, rivers of mash. Crunchy techniques like fried lime leaf and ginger packs punches, contemporary Asian fusion, 2 small fishes in my opinion. Yes, he's got competitive triathlete times despite being fat. Must have good genetics. They say they have a sixth cook trying out the reins, he's a prodigy turned into a horned hairy monster. They have an aqueduct that transports fresh salmon, they get sucked in down incredibly funny in a cannon that shooted right into the restaurant. Let's order the strawberry cherry guava smoothie with alcohol-free almanac first, said Jacqueline, now concerned with enjoying herself besides helping. I want the deadly almanac crispy half corn pudding half scrambled eggs. They have almanac and everything? What do you mean? You said the A word, a guest could be heard saying after thinking for a second. He looked back into his dish, offended. They sat down at a table not with cloth, but art, cleaned magically. We guarantee nothing healthy from this point on, said the servitor, young and dressed in grey golden. Could have done without the guava, said Ego. Let's start with the soup first, there's a logic to it, said Jacqueline, hoping everyone appreciated the time she put into being smart. They had a brothy meat soup with flavorful beet puree, small amount of beans and lentils. They had a brothy meat soup with flavorful beet puree, small amount of beans and lentils, time. I have never liked lentils so much, she said. You can see the saturated fat as circles, said James intelligently. This soup is legendary and it lasts. You can churn more flavor out of a puree texture, teached Alistair. But it leaves less room for error, just like a soup. I'll have the drunk squab, pigeon, and tomato cauliflower red curry with coffee lime leaf, said Jacqueline. Beef à la royale in a valo vent with parmesan grid crust. Beef pastry with goose liver, everything melts in your mouth texture. That's an overload of rich and fattiness, fat on fat technically, said Alistair. You will be slowed down like in a headache. I'll get the salmon with the white sausage beurre blanc on rectangular haricot verts. The salmon and sausage mimic each other, do you think Huskar Losker would approve this? Gotta eat big to get big. That's right, said James. He found another person to share degenerate gym meta with, until everyone is one-minded, everyone has trained to squat, there will be nothing heavy anymore on scale, only lightweight. I'll just go for a dessert, said Alistair moderately, the ladyfinger pina colada cake with royal dwarf blue blood mind bombs. I don't think they can get that wrong. Nobody can. You're depressed, Alistair, maybe you should indulge, don't be presumptuous. The time is now to squeeze life of everything free it will give you. Okay, fine, I guess I am fine with enjoying myself if it is denied otherwise. He said after 3 seconds, I always wanted to try the Philippine coffee whiskey rub steak, but I'm afraid they won't know the balance. Don't be sad, said Jacqueline, you can't lie low forever, people love you and this isn't best for you. I feel nothing as you say this, darkness is cultivating, there is nothing. I can appreciate the effort. You won't be low forever, Ego, can you see the exit? Yes, but not now. They gulped and ate in class, forks and facial expressions were minded, James focused on every piece like someone could apply perfection, they had gone through the courses, Jacqueline licked the plate. I want to order the hot oaken halloumi as well. The skinny servitor punched the table and fell over its far length. Good effort despite being skinny, never working out, people can overdo these things, listening to rage over listening to their bodies. They have some insane desserts here, like 5 sweetness helium balloons, Krug caramel cream brulee cooked with dragon breath, red velvet Roussan cake stacked to the ceiling, magically balanced. They hit a small yellow-purple lizard with a meat tenderizer thus farted 1 meter dragon breath.
Was so fun, right?
Right proper. Fat Sal came on his break. Greetings, fat man, 3 of them said at the same time. Was everything legendary to your presumption, said Sal, round and mustached aggressively like a cholesterol villain. The coffee whiskey rub really works, said Ego, it changes flavor, was it inspired by Irish coffee? It is, essentially a deconstructed Irish coffee, said Sal thus, the most assertive. The latest thing on the menu is the falafel course. What about the Fat Sal's 1 meter chug in a beer glass? Can I order it for my party? The 1 hour limit is for 1 person. Giants are only allowed when skinny and frail. I'll fail the challenge then, thus I order the 200 scoops. Out came a 0.75 diameter and 1 meter deep beer glass with an infinite amount of toppings, stacked like a party. 3 layers of 200 scoops ice cream of luxury chocolate, Italian chocolate, French, Spanish. Lemon liquor ice cream and sea salt caramel, mixed in layers of the barbarian flag. 1 salted caramel coffee cake, 5 strawberry cheesecake slices, 3 coffee caramel cheesecake slices thus, 3 square mud cake pieces, 4 chocolate bars custom made here by Thomas, they were coffee dark and white chocolate or with an abundance of frozen berries, lilac. Whiskey lemon crumpets, huge edible raspberry blueberry straws. Edible gold on 2 donuts and 2 pretzels big as a rabbit. Whipped cream. Interestingly, James' appetite was larger than this, he would eat piece by piece feeling no hunger and being empty when it was done, eating something else later. Probably related to the antidepressants he ate before, permanent alterations of the brain. The party ate 1 piece at a time, insides and mind thickening noticeably but James got mostly to drink the shake himself, an endless shake, this challenge really tested your mental strength. Burp, James. Burp, Alistair. Come to insight from your depression, Alistair, and it will mix into the sea like silk Swiss sucralose meringue. I will try, eventually. If it can be allowed in my mind. You say you keep having these strange thoughts. I feel like I'm not completely alone in my mind, asking insanely there for the crumpets isn't quite me. Is there something that wants to feel a specific dark way? I feel I want dark demonic things without understanding the consequences. I feel like sinning yet in crystal. You might be tormented by a Strigobor Harkenleshen. It will not only feed on your dark, surrendering emotions but also your intellect. For the first time Alistair was motivated not to be depressed. I feel a dark presence, pulsating and conscious through flickering. Do you feel any dumber, said Jacqueline. Silencio. Let's go out the back door. Do you think I'm going to bathe in dirt and air? Let's go back to my mansion. We need a ritual almost as dark, convincing. What if we sacrifice a goat? Said Jacqueline. They placed Alistair naked in a circle of gourmand breadsticks and black candle of gossip. They read in books with monstrous outsides and summoned and inclined convincingly like a law student. It's not working. The hearkening spirit void is visible for our maddening senses thus. What if we offered it some of your dollar, Alistair? You are bloody off your sculpture. James started gesticulating with some bills multiplied. Jacqueline summoned dark pathways. It's working, I can see a dark elemental. The faceless exited and charged power into its hand like silencing a sun. Freeze him quickly. The darkness was frozen except his head. Unholy sky horizon's uppercut. The Harkenleshen being unable to move, head was exploded into a 10 meters jet of blood on the wall. I feel, reaching a bright horizon. I can get out of this depression now just with willpower and light and breadsticks, not from Nepez. Why do you defend goats, are you vegan? To save her love Evelyn from the wrath of Huskarl she has to marry an idiot, Asperg, he doesn't have Asperger's. James traveled to the 3 feet road plain through a savannah more than plain, he saw idiot lions that weren't always too... James traveled to the 3 feet road plain through a savannah more than plain, he saw idiot lions that weren't always too dangerous, their faces were longer and uglier, like a totemic mask. Better not take any risks through. Protect they did competently through, instinctively or maybe sensitive. Barbarian hares or ares were 1 meter long and had longer faces, ears they were hunted a lot but were the premier herbivore, faster than the wind. Mountains everlasting, and sharp cliffs, dotted with bright colors, he zigzagged through the plains annoying stops to go ever straight. He found a barbarian longbow traveling interplanetary through the giant space-time goats. They screamed deafly and who know what they meant, James was not a goat whisperer. An icier plane was coming, there were giant frost moths and frosty butterflies, he remembered these from a book, with a kind of pushing recipe, deep frying spell. He caught a furry frost moth and put it into a jar with thus frying. Crunchiness of a nature reserve hunter. James put half the moth in his mouth and looked funny like a fake mustache. It tasted like some protein you could get used to, very smooth. After climbing a mountain to some caves there sat Oslo crouching. Greetings Barb, I'm here from your house to help you slay JYMR. Will you accept my help? He had orange fisher's beard, looks like a huntsman with orange ponytail. A wide-shouldered man, square of face and buttocks, concerned with diligence, protection and loyalty while being tender enough to sustain a meaty diet.
Yeah, alright, man. I have 5,000 hours in Smite 1, not 3,000. Actually, they only see these, right? Reset hamster, hamster. Ha, 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 ha. Let's play some Hearthstone. That's enough of this. I wanna mine some more stars, man. Last day we have Treasure Hunter. About 9 minutes. Okay, let's go. We're gonna make fucking RuneScape 3 popular and good. If 90% people say that because of microtransactions, you gotta remove it, you know?